welcome to Mr. What Presents. Today we have our mayoral candidates, challengers to the status quo against Ed Lee. Welcome, Amy. We will
Thanks for
have
having me.
absolutely happy to give you guys a little platform to tell about the things that matter to us here in San Francisco and that are very important. The critical voting date, the 3rd of November this year. We will explore why. We also will have Francisco in the House, Francisco Herrera, another candidate part of the Vote 123 campaign. Vote 123, what does that mean? What are the choices and how do they end up in the ballot counts?
It was back in December of last year that I decided to run. And in San Francisco, we have something called ranked choice voting. And so you don't have to worry about being a spoiler as a candidate. You can run and be in alignment with other candidates that share your values and have a slate. And so we all thought that somebody else would enter into the race at some point who was more of an established candidate. And let me also clarify that although I'm not an established politician, I am the most serious candidate that ever could be. I mean, there's no one that could be more serious than me about running this race and thinking about the analysis of the city and strategic solutions moving forward. We've been told that, you know, there aren't serious contenders to Ed Lee. And that's really a disgrace to democracy and the whole process to say that there aren't serious contenders, because I am a serious contender. And like I said, I earned the right to be on this ballot, and so did Francisco, and so did Stewart, so did Reed Martin, and so did Kent Graham. And so when I looked up on June 10th, that was the last day to file to be on the ballot, and saw who was running alongside me, it was Francisco and Stewart who really shared my values as a candidate and were investing their life into the future of San Francisco by running for mayor. And so I approached both of them, and we were showing up at different functions, and the picture that you have up on the screen that you're going to show in just a moment, that was a function that I put on in front of City Hall called the Cakewalk Action, because they were saying it was going to be a cakewalk election for Ed Lee. He's running unopposed. So I said, why don't we actually decorate cakes with the issues that voters want to debate? And we'll do that in front of City Hall. And Francisco and Stewart came, and this is a picture from that moment. And the three of us are running together because we decided that 4 more years of Ed Lee would be 4 more years of displacement and 4 more years of catering and capitulating to corporate influences in San Francisco. And we don't think that he has the vision to take us forward. And so the three of us are aligning as people-powered candidates in order to replace him and really usher in a new era of collaborative and strategic visionary leadership for San Francisco.
Which is what this city really needs. Obviously, a lot of people are not being heard at the moment. A lot of people being displaced. The main issue right now for a lot of people is the housing crisis.
Yes.
How do you think, and maybe help us navigate a little bit the different props in there,
Sure.
that the issue is best approached at the moment, and how would your program tackle the issue of displacement and real estate in San Francisco?
Well, I think that what we need to do is really take a step back first and have a proper analysis about how we got into this situation and into this crisis, because there was a global financial collapse, and it was because of the investment strategies of San Francisco and you know, really the whole country, where people are gambling with the money that we have from workers in order to invest in things that are very risky and actually harmful to people and the planet. And so that recession occurred, and let's remember that North Dakota was the only state that actually didn't have real issues after the global financial collapse in terms of their banking structure, because they have a state bank. And so that's something that John Avalos was actually trying to instate when he was running for mayor back in 2011, and I volunteered on his campaign. He was trying to get us to a municipal bank in San Francisco, which I think we should really be moving in that direction. But so you have to take a look and see that there wasn't an unemployment crisis before 2007, and there wasn't a displacement crisis until Ed Lee's administration started to institute different kinds of economic and development policies in 2011. That's when you see if you look at the graph of displacement in San Francisco, where it starts to
Right.
go up. And so we have to see that there's a confluence between industry, economy, and housing, transit, and sustainability. And this really is a regional issue for us right now. And so anybody who's mayor has to look at it from that systems approach of looking at the 9-county Bay Area and all of these cities and the industry, and then look at the transit and sustainability issues. And so for me, I'm trying to think of how do we support inclusive, culturally enriching, and sustainable development in San Francisco. And I have some ideas about how we can do that. You asked me specifically about props, and so I'll say that Prop A is something that I'd like to see happen. But as Francisco has mentioned before, who just arrived, we want to be mayor in order to be able to distribute those funds in a way that's truly going to serve the people's needs and development. So Prop A is saying yes to a $310 million bond. And one of my proposed solutions right now is to actually take the planning department's data that they have on additional dwelling units, and they say that 37,000 parcels in San Francisco can add an additional unit within the existing building envelope. And so my idea is that since that costs $50,000 to $250,000 to build an additional dwelling unit, then compare that to $500,000 to $700,000 that it costs to build a brand new unit. And then what we can do is actually say we will help with the financing of these additional dwelling units to small property owners if they rent to someone in a registry that I will create as mayor, or we will create as mayor potentially, to be able to say if you're a worker in San Francisco and you're spending more than 30% of your income on rent, or you've been priced out of the city, then we can help you come back in through this building project, you know. So I'm trying to make those kinds of connections.
Right.
And then I would say the two propositions to say no to are E and G. And I say EGADS as a way for people
Yeah,
mnemonically
people need
to,
ways to
yeah,
remember those
EGADS,
things.
E and G,
EGADS.
you know, not going to do them. And then we do have Prop F, which I say Prop F plus Airbnb equals fair BNB, because right now we can't actually regulate and enforce the law, and people have, you know, we're having a housing crunch, and thousands of units are illegally off right now of the market because of Airbnb. We want Prop I, which is a pause for a plan in the mission. And one of the plans, I have a few ideas about how we move forward. So I'm very action oriented after proper analysis. And I think we're ready to move forward, but the development has to be for the people. And then Prop,
Which is what's sorely missing at the moment in San
Yeah.
Francisco, and what prompted or solidifies you guys' alliance
right.
is that the people have no voice at the moment. Francisco, you just arrived. You're an artist yourself. You brought your guitar, which is great. I would love to
Yes.
hear your song later in the show. Are there differences between you guys' campaigns, or are you united as a front, and whichever choice people want to cast for personal preferences will result in sort of a similar program if you guys are elected as a group or as individuals that I'm assuming will still involve the other two candidates?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a musician, but so is Amy, and she's a very good songwriter, as you could see. Fair B&B, I love that. That's very good.
It's too extreme.
well,
No, not in that.
you know,
that
the
area.
thing about privilege is that when the privileged have had privilege for too long, they think it's a right. And so really, the Prop F already exists in New York and other major cities of the United States. They've just been able to get away with it here because we've had a very lax administration that have basically said, okay, boys, come in and raid San Francisco. Take the refrigerator, step over the lampshade, break the living room, let your bull market run all over the garden and destroy the whole neighborhood. And unfortunately, that's the administration we've had the last two and a half mayors. Mayor Willie Brown started that whole way of thinking when he said, if you don't make $50,000 a year, you shouldn't live here. So it really has been a whole consistent policy that's been open doors to big money and closed door to neighborhoods.
Right.
And so I think very much, I think the point is right now, sure, there's some differences that we have, but the main difference is with City Hall and their policy of keeping their doors shut. Another that I would add to what Amy said, I think that is really important. There's over $1 billion that's dedicated to safety, and yet there's over 300 unsolved murders in San Francisco. I've been spending Tuesdays and Thursdays, part of it, with Miss Paulette Brown, her family, whose son was murdered 9 years ago. There's hundreds of people who've been murdered, and investigations are
Right.
not
Priorities are clearly
no.
determined by who pays the bill. And also right now on the streets, very, very clearly significant rise of homelessness this year. I would guesstimate maybe 20% more than last year just from watching what's going on. Do you guys have some ideas about how to reintegrate people in society in San
I
Francisco?
think- Well, I think the ones that need to be reintegrated are really the wealthy that are stumping all over the place. You know what? Many times we tend to focus on the victim of bad policy, the victim of crime, the victim of this and that. And we really have to look at white collar crime. I think we really need to look at bad policy making, the misuse of over $3 million used last year in travel expenses for what? I mean, why are bureaucrats traveling at the expense of $3 million a year? So I think we really need to be able to reintegrate folks who are spending way too much in our public funds and bring them back to the community. We're talking about Prop A, and again, just like Prop A, I think Prop D, there's been a lot of fanfare that's been made, but no one's looking at the height limits, right, that are going to be knocked out with Prop D. Again, it's all based on a gentleman's handshake, and my mother taught me, take a woman's word over a gentleman's handshake any day. And I think that right now, the way it stands, if today Prop D was enacted, there's no way that it would produce 40% affordable housing. If Amy or I are mayor, damn right it's going to be 40% because we will work with the community to make sure that 40% is respected. But right now, the way Prop D stands in the language, there's nothing to force them to keep 40%. And what's happening is that we are, if you excuse the expression, we are at a point of a hemorrhage at the level of that the amount of people that are being displaced and kicked out, priced out of San Francisco, to the tune that I think it's over 60% of city workers who cannot live here. What does that give you? That gives you the plantation big house, you know, where people come as little servants to work for the big house and they have to leave.
How's the campaign right now? I see that on your Facebook campaign, the numbers are rising very fast. How's the momentum for your group? What big dates are still ahead until the 3rd for you guys?
So Shannon Bolt started Vote 123 to replace Ed Lee for Facebook, and I'm a co-administrator of that site. And we've been working really hard to promote that site because what I found is that that's really what resonated most with people. And it's easier for me to be more of a collaborative approach as a leader than to say Amy Weiss for mayor, although that's also necessary. But what captures the imagination is
that's really what got
people working together.
I mean, I heard about
It's
Stuart
different.
Schiffman and Burke Ass just through his comedy act, and I thought it was great. But then I realized you guys were with it through that campaign, the slogan, and the fact that you can vote for multiple candidates.
And something I'm really excited about that Shannon started is that we were only able to have one debate with Ed Lee. We were supposed to have a second debate the next week, but we did such a great job of holding him accountable, and everybody should watch the League of Women Voters debate. You
Video.
can look it up. It's, you know, it's really imperative that you watch it and see it before you make your decision of who to vote for. But we did so well that he decided to cancel the second debate that was in Chinatown the next week. And we ended up going anyway and doing this great event in front of the place that we were supposed to have the debate and really engaging people in participatory democracy.
Excellent.
One of my
Yes,
campaign supporters had his mom translate my materials into Chinese characters. It was wonderful. And so what Shannon did was she said, we need to get this debate out to more people to watch. And so she started to contact the supporters and say, do you live in a district and want to have you know, a library in your district show the debates? And so what we're doing is also providing, we're working on providing translation services, because what ended, and so now there's 3 of these coming on, and I invite people to go to vote 123 to replace Ed Lee on the Facebook page, and you can sign up and you can find out about the events that are coming up at these libraries and more. But you know, it's really exciting that we have people taking initiative on their own to really make democracy bloom in San Francisco right now, and you're
is
doing that as well.
Very needed. I think
Yeah.
this is why we're doing this kind of show, just to have an
Yeah.
alternative voice for the community.
Ranked choice voting was set up really to give people more power, and it was also set up to avoid really super expensive follow-up runs. And so I'm really happy that we've been able to move a step closer. Oakland did it, but in this race, we've been actually to move it a little bit closer to how do you run your campaign in alliance with other campaigns to create the more participatory democracy.
Right. And Francisco, you brought your guitar.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful song about what's going on in the soul of San Francisco and the people of San Francisco, which I think now is a perfect time to play if you'd be
All
so
right.
kind.
There's another song that we've been using called Gonna Take Us All to Make a Change by John Fromer, who used to work across the street right here. But this kind of speaks to what we're doing. It's the people who make the difference. Hacemos un hermoso jardín. We make a beautiful garden. And it's the friendships made in the struggle. Son razones pa vivir, reasons to live together. It's the people who make the difference. Hacemos un hermoso jardín. And it's the friendships made in the struggle. Son razones pa vivir. Son razones pa vivir. As it sat down to dinner with a glass of wine, looking at the evening news, watching all the people marching in the street, they said the city's about to blow a fuse. I'm just so tired of hanging around, something that I got to do, 'cause watching and talking just ain't enough, and the change is so long overdue. Oh, 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 it's the people who make the difference. Hacemos un hermoso jardín, and it's the friendships made in the struggle. Son razones pa vivir. Son razones pa vivir. A smile came upon her face as she picked up the picket sign. It's been ages since she sat this way. What a way to spend your time.
And we're approaching the end of our show already. Beautiful song. Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to vote. Very important election.
1, 2, 3.
Vote on 3rd of November.
Replace that.
Inform yourselves. And thank you to our candidates. And
Thanks for
good luck
having
to you
us.
guys. You guys are great.
November
you.
3rd, the most
Vote
important
1, 2,
day
3.
imaginable for the future of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Thanks. Get out to vote. Get your friends to vote. And use social media for good. Yeah. Thank you. We're trying to work for a better world and a better San Francisco. I want to thank Broke Ass Stewart. I want to thank Tom DePlano for trying to stand up and doing what's hard, and that is serving the people. We talk about it, but very few do it. Serve the people.